This committee report deals with SOEs under public enterprises presided over by Mr. Gordhan. The reality is that the committee does not challenge the philosophical direction Mr. Gordhan wants to take in relation to these SOEs, that is, subject them largely to privatization. And that is why we cannot associate ourselves with it. For purposes of this declaration, we pay special focus on Eskom. Firstly, Mr. Gordhan released the restructuring and recovery plan for Eskom today. This is before he even appoints a credible and competent leadership over Eskom, meaning he is imposing a plan on the Eskom leadership. He's essentially telling us that he's going to run Eskom himself. Why then didn't he put his CV in the mix? In his paper on the recovery plan, Mr. Gordhan says Eskom is too big to manage. I'm quoting him verbatim. This is utter rubbish, which exposes him as the worst man for the job. No different to the current chairperson, CEO and board called Jabu Mabuza. Because until 10 years ago, Eskom was one of the world's best power utilities. But it was around 2008 when things started going down the south as evergreen coal contracts started to take toll on Eskom and later complemented by IPPs that the problem started. When Mr. Gordhan says Eskom is too big to manage, he's trying to convince himself that the privatization process, which starts with the unbundling process, will save the power utility, when in fact it does not, but essentially disposes of it. Nothing is actually original at all in this plan that he unveiled today. Mr. Gordhan outsourced his thinking to Investec because everything in that paper comes from the Investec one-page paper written in November last year. He is unoriginal and basically here to disempower the state's capacity to deliver services that it ought to, so that we can depend on individually and privately owned companies for our survival on electricity. We reject this report. We reject the unbundling of Eskom as completely unoriginal and exposing Mr. Gordhan as not the man for the job. Public enterprises must be shut down. It's an unnecessary department wasting taxpayers' money.
Your time has expired.